Good morning and greetings from Northumberland. It's a brightish morning on this second day of the Jubilee, the 3rd of June. We had rain in the night. I don't know whether you want to know that or not, but I feel called to tell you. There are three things I want to hold or try and hold together in my reflection today. First is the continuation of the Jubilee and the celebration of the life, ministry, witness and reign of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Secondly, it's 100 days since the war in Ukraine began. And thirdly, it is the word Jubilee. And I think, although my mind is sometimes confused, I can bring these things together. I hope so anyway. First of all, I'll go to the Ukraine. 100 days of this terrible war. I think it's important for us to mark that date, but not to see it as a sort of as being definitive. But what it does tell us is that this situation in Ukraine is not going to be a short and easy situation to understand and to solve. 1/5 of the Ukraine is under the occupation of a foreign power. 1/5 of the people of the Ukraine, or maybe a few less because some will have, in the very extreme east, may have welcomed the Russians, but 1/5 of the people of Ukraine are living under a foreign power, and 1/5 of those people may be fearful of what can happen. So we have this terrible situation that goes on, and I've sort of committed myself to including the Ukraine in my prayers day by day, week by week, and to being aware of the need to stick with the people and to encourage all of us to stick with them and to support our government in sticking with the people of Ukraine and supporting them through what may be a long, hard slog. Yesterday we saw the Battle of Britain flight of aircraft from World War II flying over Buckingham Palace. It reminded me that that Second World War was 6 years of struggle. And so 100 days pales into insignificance beside that and reminds us of the need to continue to support and help Ukraine financially and in any way we can in this difficult struggle. So let's not forget them, and let's not cease to be ready to welcome people from Ukraine if they have to come here. Secondly, Her Majesty, it was marvellous to see her on the balcony at Buckingham Palace as the troops of the household divisions passed by her and saluted her. That moment was probably even more moving than the moment in Horse Guards. But I reflected on it, and I think one of the things it said to me was that we have an almost unique arrangement here, this constitutional democracy. There are other constitutional democracies, but they're really modelled on ours, where the Crown has certain powers and responsibilities, but then the people elect governments, and it's not perfect. But constitutional democracies stand up higher than many others in terms of freedom. And I think it's important. It's important not only to have a constitutional democracy, but actually to make sure that the powers of the Crown and the responsibilities of the Crown to advise and to admonish sometimes are clearly set out. That may bring the Queen into politics in some way, or the monarch into politics in some way, but it is important that her role as an advisor and as a safeguard is respected. It's also important to see that the troops of our armed forces are in the end the forces of the Crown, and they are responsible to the nation through the Queen and not to any political leader. I don't know whether I'm making this clear, but I think it's important. And thirdly, because I'm going on too long, I'm going to say something about Jubilee. The word Jubilee is sort of replaced. We could say this is the Queen's 70th anniversary of being the monarch. We call it a Jubilee, and a Jubilee is a biblical word. And that word means something about justice, and it means something about the quality of the society we live in. I'm completely behind celebrating this Jubilee, and I've been moved to tears more than once in the last few days. But we have to also, as Christians, take on board the other aspect of Jubilee, which is supporting the weak, bringing justice to the poor, and in the words of the Magnificat, raising up the fallen. It's interesting that churches celebrate the Jubilee of our Supreme Governor, the Queen, but we also feed the poor, help the sick, welcome the stranger, give comfort to the troubled, and campaign for justice in our society. And that's important. It's also, I believe, what the Queen would want. Her faith motivates her. And we need to follow that example in letting our faith motivate us. I've maybe rambled too long, but think about those three things and keep them in your prayers. May God save the Queen. May God bless the people of Ukraine. And may God lift up the poor and give us his blessing.